Hey everybody, this is Scott, creator of Brutality Skirmish Wargame, and I decided that because of my love of Star Trek, I would make several warbands of Star Trek characters, and TNG was the one that I grew up with, so I decided to make a mission on this using the Brutality Skirmish Wargame Narrative Missions Module 1. It's very fun, and let's begin. So this is all open world. We're going to start with room number 1 and see what we get. So tweaking the first mission just a little bit to fit our Star Trek theme and not actually making this in the Brutality, we decided that Secretary Vorlin is an ambassador, a Federation ambassador to this planet, and they were running into some issues and he goes missing. So our away team of Riker, Data, Worf, LaForge, and Beverly all go in this cave that is reportedly housing the captured secretary. Riker is the leader of the team. He's a basic melee. We have Data, who is a sentry. We have Dr. Crusher, who is an adaptive. And LaForge is an augmenter, and Worf is a berserker. So they're going to go in there, and we're going to go into the very first room. This is open world. You can really enter wherever you want. That makes sense. But for us, room number 1 makes sense. Let's see what we get. So for brevity, I'm not going to be showing every single dice roll or anything like that. I'm not even going to read all the descriptions to the rooms. They're all very flavorful, but it will make the video far too long. So I rolled a 7 up. We decided to investigate a crate of bloody clothing soaking in water, and Worf actually found a key, so we'll hold on to that, and we will go on to room number 4. Because apparently all we can roll is 7s, I roll a 7 down. That is a golden chest, actually. And we can try to break it open. It's humming or something coming out of it. And I choose Worf, obviously. He's got a fight skill of 7. So I have to roll 3 fight skill checks and pass at least 2 of them to break them open. And in typical Worf fashion, if you can see this, he rolls a 10, a 10, and a 5. Poor Worf. From there, the gang decides to go on to room number 2. Finally, I feel like the curse of the 7s has lifted. We roll a 6 right, which ends up describing that this room is full of a bunch of boxes. Many of them contain food or are empty, but one of them does have a disassembled android in it. For the sake of it, we'll not say it's Data's cousin or anything, but it is a robot. So we decide to do a willpower check to see if we can reassemble it. And that's where Mr. LaForge comes in. Mr. LaForge, even though his willpower is 1 less than Beverly's, it made more sense for him to fix it than her. And he does pass that, but unfortunately, when we consult the chart, 6 right is that the robot still is not active, but it is worth some money if we junk it. And from there, the gang travels from room number 2 to room number 3. For this encounter, we actually roll a 10 down, and that means that we are in this room, and we do find Secretary Vorlin. He's bound and gagged in the corner, and before he can say anything, 3 basic melee enemies appear. These are the plant-based aliens that he was dealing with, and apparently they have captured him. So we roll for their deployment. It's all D10 plus 10 inches, so the 1 inch ends up just coming out of this corridor here, and then the 5 and the 3 end up scattering over here. So let's see how this goes. We seize the initiative. LaForge activates first. He critically fails a time slip and hurts himself in LaForge fashion. And then he fails a disrupt. He was going to emit some sort of noise and disrupt that plant person. But he does successfully put up a force field, a movement blocking force field to hold him at bay. This guy activates first and successfully charges Worf. He deals nothing to Worf. Worf gives him the beat down, dealing 2 damage to him and also a -2 fight skill and a -2 movement. He got slashed and lacerated. Data tries to shoot that injured guy and horribly misses both shots. So this tree person runs from here all the way over to here. It does a critical charge on Worf, dealing him an agony and 1 damage in the combat. And Worf is able to take 1 hit point off of him and give him a -2 fighting skill. Riker activates, charges this guy, and removes the last hit point from him, but not before taking a bleeding token and losing a hit point. The next person to activate is Beverly Crusher, who comes into base contact here. She's able to heal him, and she removes his bleeding token. Then she successfully does a pause on this tree person. I kind of glossed over it, but obviously this guy's got nothing to do behind that barrier. Worf is managing to remove his agony. He passes his willpower check. He successfully charges into this guy and deals him 1 unsaved wound. Meanwhile, this guy strikes him back, dealing an unsaved wound to him and giving him -2 fight skill. Guess what Worf does to him? -2 fight skill. So this tree person is -4 fight skill now, and Worf is now down to a 5 instead of a 7. Because they've lost more people, the enemies go automatically first, and he successfully passes his pause. He charges into Worf, and I was quite scared because Worf only has 1 hit point left. He even does a critical. Now remember, this guy's got -4 to his fight skill, so he's not hitting very well, but he did do a critical hit on Worf. Worf rolls a 10 and a 1, which is a critical save. And then he is able to end this tree person's life. This guy still can't do anything but snarl at them, so he really doesn't do anything this turn, unless Geordi fails his willpower for that barrier at the end of the turn. I'm obviously not going to activate Geordi until the end of the turn, because I want to make sure this guy loses his turn. So Beverly activates first. She comes up and heals Worf, and she fails to do a curse on him. Data shoots at the guy through the barrier, and it's a movement blocking barrier, not a line of sight, so he gets partial cover. Data's able to take 2 hit points off of him, gives him a disarmed, and, you guessed it, a -2 fight skill, because all I can roll is 5s this game. Now, let's see if LaForge passes his barrier check. It's a 7. An 8! LaForge. You know what? I'm going to be risky. I'm going to fudge it. I'm going to lose a hit point, because it wasn't a critical fail, and I'm going to keep that barrier up. So now we can just pin him down and shoot at him. In the next round of activations, we shuffle around a bit, and Data's able to snipe this guy out. So, now comes the reveal of what exactly is the deal with Vorlon. Let's see. Alright, once we free him, we find out that 10 down meant that he is exactly who he says he is. He's not a bad guy. But there might be some treachery in there. At the beginning of each turn, when he helps us in combat, on the roll of a 1, he will be a turncoat and turn on us. But other than that, he's basically a slightly better basic melee. But our group would love to get him out now and just go, okay, this is it, we rescued you. And he goes, no, this war criminal that captured me, he must be stopped. We have to find him, and I know where to find him. Oh, and I almost forgot. Remember that key that Worf picked up in the first room? Well, this is the room where it says that if you have a key, there is a small door that you can open up and roll on the item chart. We do roll on the item chart, and we get a 1, which is a breaching ball. It's a regular ranged attack. It's only 1 use, but it automatically hits the target, and if unsaved, it deals 1 damage and 3 wound chart rolls. So I like to think of that as like a little exploding ball. So I think we will give that to Data. And from there, we head from room 3 to room number 5. What do we find there? We rolled a 4 up. Come to find out, there's a bunch of starving birds. It's actually a little different, but I didn't have any hound models painted up because I wasn't anticipating this result. So, I've changed the story a little bit to starving birds that I guess are used for messaging or whatever, and we decide, are we going to release them or are we not going to release them? It's possible they could attack us or whatever. Well, it goes to show that a 4-up, Data releases them, and one of them takes a liking to Data. So, I'm not going to keep the model here the whole game, but he now has the pet familiar model ability for this mission, because the bird just will not leave him alone and defends him if anybody comes near. Now, after each zone resolves, you can make 1 action with each character if you wish, but if you do that, you run a chance of getting other people coming in. They hear you, or your hesitation does that. So, Beverly's going to try to heal Geordi. She needed an 8, so she's going to fudge that. She's going to give herself a wound, and she is going to heal Geordi a wound. So Geordi's at 2, she's at 2, and Worf is at 2 now. And now, I need to roll a 1 or a 10 for enemies to come in randomly. A 2, so no, they might have gotten close, but they did not come in. Now the group travels from room number 5 to 4, and then to 7. We roll a 1 up, and the direction will only matter if we have the Huni code or something with the Huni keyword. There's a giant glowing sigil in the wall, and that's one of those secret things that you may not get every single time that you play this mission, and unfortunately we do not have any Huni keyword on any of our items, so we have no idea what this sigil does, and I guess we just move on. And from room 7 to room 6 we go. Let's see what we find here. When we get to room number 6, we roll a 6 up, and we notice that we're surrounded by crates and barrels, and the smell of gunpowder fills the room. When I check to see what the up direction means, it is 3 basic ranged enemies, and this is a shooting range for them. Now, I altered this a little bit because I did not have any smaller Sylvaneth models that are ranged because they don't make them currently. So what I'm doing is I'm changing both of these to a shredder each. So they're 2 shredders. It's still the same points, but it's just 2 shredders. We were lucky enough to win the roll-off again, so we decided that Riker should activate first and try and take one of these guys out while he can. He charges this beast, does 2 unsaved damage to him, -2 to his movement, and disarmed him, and 2 damage. Luckily, he did not take any damage himself, so I gotta bring him back about 2 inches, and now it's them. Okay, he is going to aim, and he shoots Beverly, hitting her twice. She fails one of them, taking 1 unsaved damage, but remember I said these are shredders, so I wanted to save this roll to see exactly what we get. If either one of these is a 10, Beverly's dead. A 6 and a 5, piercing. She's -2 movement and -2 fight skill. You know what? That's alright. At this juncture, we have no choice. We have to activate Beverly. So, we are going to move her over here and take her hit point. And the reason why I'm rolling for these rolls is because she could die if she rolls a 10. So she's going to heal herself. She gets it. She's at 2 hit points now. And she's also going to protect herself. Critical protect. So she's going to inject herself and, let's say, Worf with something that will give them a boost to their defenses. This guy activates now. He tries to shoot Geordi in the back, hits him twice, but Geordi luckily rolls a 9 to save it, but also a critical save. So Geordi is okay. Alright, I feel like Geordi really did something here. He passed his willpower for his time slip, so he's definitely keen on himself, and he's really thinking hard about these problems. He sets up a line of sight blocking barrier against that ranged guy, so he's going to have to move through it or go around it to shoot. And then he puts a pause on this guy. But it doesn't matter, because he pauses him with some sort of frequency just in time for Data here to shoot at him and remove his last hit point. So he is dead. Good old Worf runs around the corner and successfully charges into this guy, dealing a, guess what, a -2 fight skill. And the tree man loses 1 hit point. He strikes back at Worf and does nothing thanks to the protect. I rolled exactly a 6. New turn, they go first automatically because they lost someone and we didn't. So he takes aim and shoots at Worf. 1 shot goes through, although both of them hit. And he rolls twice for the wound chart. And what did he get? He got a 6 and he got a 5. Why do we keep getting 5s? So now Worf has a -4 to his fight skill. He's only hitting 30% of the time now, which is not good news for a Berserker. And the 6 is a -2 movement. Next up, Beverly activates. She moves over, restores that protect on Worf, and heals him a hit point. Data turns the corner, shoots twice, and murders this guy. Data has been a murder in full this mission. So we travel from room 6 to room 8, and with Geordi, Beverly, and Worf all at 2 hit points, I'm really tempted to stop and heal one of them, but I don't want to risk running into more enemies. For room number 8, I rolled a 10 and to the right. So the 10 is, there's a large beast being restrained, it's struggling under these chains, and in a second it slips the chains and kills the people that are handling it. And let's see what happens to us, because this is actually somewhat concerning. It may attack us or whatever. The beast stares at your party for a long moment before leaving the room. Thank you. Thank you very much for just leaving. If it was pointed up, it would have attacked us. Oh, down, it would have hurt people, and then left, it was, its waste is worth 3 gold, so, yeah. Anyway, it could have attacked us, and I'm glad it didn't. We're moving on to the next room. Alright, well, we fight the boss. We finally get to the boss. So, of course, the train is scattered randomly. We're deployed in the middle, and then she scatters randomly. And here is the boss. She has a bunch of random attributes. What she got this game was an extra hit point, putting her at 9, and an extra save, putting her at 5. And when she gets to half hit points or less, she gets an additional attack. So, she was right here. She runs over to Data. He's a sentry. When she charges, he actually deals 2 wounds to her and a -2 fight skill, because why not, this whole mission, and disarms her. So, that's actually pretty cool. And she manages to do 2 damage to him, and I totally forgot she was disarmed, so he actually does not take the movement penalty or the blinded, but he does take 2 hit points. And he manages to do nothing to her in close combat beyond the 2 Overwatch shots he did. So then she's got to back up, and she's going to activate after every 2 of our people. Being that we get the next 2 activations, both of our support people, Jordy backs up, and he puts a time slip on Data. In other words, he's collected some information about this or whatever with his tricorder, and now Data can hurt it better or evade it better. And then he successfully pauses with a high-frequency tune. He pauses the monster. Beverly backs up as well. She puts a protect on Worf, and then she heals Data for 1. When she activates, she's able to pass her dexterity check, removing her pause. Then she activates her claws again, removing her disarmed. She makes the charge with a 7, but that allows Data to overwatch yet again, and takes a hit point off of her, and -1 willpower as a face gash is what he did to her. And she charges in. Unfortunately, she does 3 hits to him, and he fails. Well, ignore these tokens. He fails all of them with a 10, a 9, and a 9. And no amount of time slip is going to help him there. So let's see if he can strike her back. Data is a 6. He fails. So she just rips him to shreds. Poor Data has now perished. So now, what's the rest of our team can do now? Dude, I gotta tell you, this is nuts. So, Riker charges in. He's able to do 1 damage to her and -1 willpower. Not a whole lot. She strikes him back, and she does a -1 willpower to him and 1 damage. So that's kind of, whatever. That's not too bad. Old Worf charges in. Now, remember, he's very injured. So at this juncture, he's not doing a whole lot of damage, but he is buffed. He manages to hit her 1 time, and she saves it with a 4, and then she does 2 unsaved damage to him. Ignore the 5 here, but the 7 and 8 is what he rolled for his saves. She just aced Worf. Now, this girl's got 5 more hit points, and we're hurting. Big Monster Girl charges poor Riker, dealing an unsaved damage and a bleeding token. So if Beverly or someone doesn't staunch this bleeding quick, he's going to be dead. He does 1 unsaved damage to her, and, believe it or not, a -2 fight skill. You would think from this that is the only result on this D10 chart, but no. So now she is at a 3 fight skill, which is pretty good, because now that she's at half health, she's going to be getting 3 attacks base instead of 2. So, after attacking him and causing him to bleed. I mean, look at those claws. She's definitely causing him to bleed. Now it is the beginning of a new turn. And, well, actually, no, it's not, because he has never gone. But I was leery of making him do anything, because I was here to save him. And obviously, Data and Worf are not dead, they're just mortally wounded and got teleported away. So I guess what I'm going to do is make him come here, and he's going to staunch Riker's bleeding. And then that's the beginning of a new turn. She always activates first, so she actually gets to activate twice. You'll never believe that the monster lady actually rolled a 1 for the charge. I really should have recorded that, or you never believe me. You'll have to believe me. She rolled a 1 for the charge, thank God. So, Beverly activates. She tries to do a not a time slip, a missile. She tried to missile the monster and critically failed, hurting herself. And then she healed Will Riker. Will Riker's activation, he moves, use a command token to run around the rear arc of the monster, giving him +2 fight skill, and then charges in. He manages to deal 2 unsaved damage to this monster, and the 2 wound chart rolls are a critical 10 and a confusion. So I like to think that Riker jumped right on the back of her, and she, he was beating her in the face or whatever, and now let's see what she does back to him. She's a fight skill 3 now. Nothing. So she has to back up, and he also has to back up to make the 2 inches. Now it's her activation again. Come on, we got her down to 1 hit point and confused. I might as well just record this. Her willpower is a 7, and she fails it. So she's gonna roll. She's gonna move 3 inches in this direction because she's confused. Now that's actually pretty good if we had someone that could do some damage to her. I really don't want that alien we saved to be the one to take her down. I really don't want that. Oh well. Well, the alien successfully charges, so let's see what he does. He needs 7s, because of rear arc. He gets 2 hits. She's a 5. He gets a 2 and a 7. He does actually kill her. Now let's see what she does to him. She missed every one of them. 8, 8, 7. So he is actually the one to topple the monster that kidnapped him. That is a strange turn of events. We've got Geordi at 1 hit point. We have Riker at 2 hit points. Geordi at 2 hit points, Riker at 2 hit points, and Beverly at 1, with a mortally wounded Data and Worf. And that is the end. We rescued the Secretary of Orlan, and we defeated the crime boss. I'm certain she's not dead. She'll be taken into Federation for rehabilitation or whatever happens. Anyway, thanks for listening. Sorry this was a little bit long, but this is actually one of the longer missions in here, so